Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director at the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's Friday, May 16th, 2025. You know what that means, friends. It's time for us to talk about this week's cannabis policy and science news. Time for me to answer your burning questions. So let's get down to it. Go ahead and take a second and let me know where you're watching from. Drop a note in the comments and hey, let me know if you have any burning questions. Hey, Jimmy, thanks for joining us on Instagram. Hi, Nick. Welcome back. It's been a minute. Nick says, hello from the childish state of Pennsylvania, where the House and Senate act like bratty kids. Yeah, what is going on in Pennsylvania, Nick? It's a wild ride out there, my friends. We got a lot to catch up on. It's been a few weeks, and we're going to get down to some news in just a second. I think things are a little so. Hey, everyone that just joined us on Instagram. Hey, Wendy and Mamba and Alejandro. Hey, Nikki and Frank. Hey, Russell in New Mexico. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, wherever you're watching, take a quick second to hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. We try to do this every Friday, about 4 o'clock Eastern. Let's get into some news. Some of this news is going to be from last week, but I don't want you to miss it, so we're gonna share it all. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, also on Twitter or LinkedIn, you should be able to see these links that I'm about to share with you. Sorry, Instagram. You can find all of these stories on the NORML website, though, at norml.org. They're either going to be on the front page or they're going to be in the news section. And you could just get these delivered to you every week if you want. Head to norml.org/subscribe. Make sure you check the weekend weed read box while you're there, so you always get the Saturday edition as well. Our news comes out on Thursday and on Saturday. Hey, Jay in Minneapolis. Good to see you. All right, let's talk about it. So there was an analysis done. This is a story on the NORML blog, right on the front page, from the 13th of this week. And there's an analysis done, and state legal cannabis sales in the U.S. topped $30 billion in 2024. I think it was $30.1 billion. And the projection for 2025 sales is upwards of $34 billion. So a lot of money in cannabis, which is particularly interesting given that the federal government has still made no meaningful efforts to move forward on ending prohibition. I thought the current administration was super into money. Weird. Let's see. What else are we? I want to get you some good news. Just some good news first, right? More good news. If you've been paying attention to Texas, you would know that there were a number of not only localities that had already enacted local ordinances to deprioritize, to depenalize marijuana possession, but there were even more jurisdictions that recently, voters in those jurisdictions recently elected to do so. And Attorney General Ken Paxton was not particularly happy with that. Ken Paxton filed lawsuits challenging all of these voter-approved ordinances in a number of localities, and ultimately was successful in an appellate court that overturned the will of the voters. Now, what happened in Austin? In Austin, Texas, their police chief, Lisa Davis, she said, well, for now, we're still going with the way we were policing before, meaning that wasn't a priority. These minor marijuana possession infractions weren't a priority for Austin police before the appellate court ruling. And according to their police chief, it's not going to change. So good on you. Good on you, Austin. And less good on you, Attorney General Paxton. Hey, PA Cannabis Coalition. Good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. I don't know if we have any Pennsylvania. We don't have any Pennsylvania stories this week, but I feel like we had one last week. And since I was out, we'll talk about it a little bit about what happened. So last week, the Pennsylvania House approved a bill to legalize adult use cannabis and to regulate retail sales through state-run dispensaries. Now, NORML has very strongly expressed opposition to a state monopoly model. Unlike adult use regulations adopted in every other legal state, this model would require a state agency and its employees to engage in activities that are in conflict with federal marijuana laws. As a result, adopting such a model would arguably make the state and its employees vulnerable to litigation and ultimately to federal preemption. So not certain what Pennsylvania Democrats were thinking, other than how to engage in what largely amounted to political theater. It was a non-starter for Pennsylvania Republicans from the get-go, but this bill was still rushed through, and after the House approved it, it went over to the Senate, where it promptly died. So there are other lawmakers who have indicated they intend to introduce a legalization bill that does not contain a state-regulated, state-run store model. So exactly. Exactly. Smell your own. Smell your own says laughable, and Pennsylvania has very much work to do. Yes, absolutely. Pennsylvania Cannabis Coalition on Instagram says, I saw that. Would love to see homegrown, at least for medical patients, if not across the board, but I know that's a pipe dream. Let's see what happens with any subsequent legislation, and that is always a priority for NORML, to include the ability for people to cultivate cannabis for personal use at home in any sort of adult use legislation. But if it's not included, that doesn't mean we are unwilling to support it. If a legalization bill ends arrests, we're arguably going to support that bill. And no one should be here ready to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It's okay if the bill isn't perfect. You could start out with the perfect bill, the bill you love, that's got everything you want. And by the time you get through the legislative process, it's not going to look like that. It's no longer going to be perfect. That's okay. It's okay if your bill starts off not great. Maybe it'll get better through the process, maybe not. But if you have nothing and then you can get something, that's taking a step forward. So Agreed, Pennsylvania Cannabis Coalition, we would love to see legalization efforts in any state permit personal cultivation for adults over 21 at home. But if not, that doesn't mean we have to give up. We can pass what we can, and we can come back the next year and try to make it better. Nick says, how about turning our current dispensaries into, say, like beer distributors instead of the Department of Health or Liquor Control Board? How about letting the DOA, Department of Agriculture, handle it? Just everything over to them. They can amend all they want. I mean, I know Nick is being funny, but right? There is a big play in a number of states amongst alcohol operators for a piece of the cannabis pie. And since we're talking about alcohol, there are efforts underway. You just saw a bill in Alabama get signed. Now, Alabama does not have legalization, but Alabama's governor is going to say yes to allowing alcohol retailers to sell 10 milligram THC beverages. So if you have marijuana on you as a consumer in Alabama, you subject to criminal penalties, and there's no legalization, but big alcohol wrote a big enough check, so they should be allowed to sell THC. It's so perplexing that we're just seeing this. We're seeing alcohol waving their wads of cash in the air, legislators saying, let us do that. We're going to protect the children, which is particularly interesting given the disparity when you look at compliance checks for alcohol sales versus cannabis sales, where you get nearly 100% compliance on age gating for cannabis sales from regulated licensed cannabis retailers, and you were not seeing that for alcohol sales. Not to mention the lack of regulatory oversight for those products. So again, what's in them? Who knows? Hey, Amy in New Mexico. John, wow. Okay, that John just shared a story with us. I haven't read this yet, and John, maybe tell us where it is so we can let people, we can point people to where to go read this story. But John just shared this with me. It looks like a headline, maybe. American basketball player who plays basketball for the Indonesian League is getting the death penalty for marijuana in Jakarta. Jared Dwayne Shaw, 34 of Dallas, Texas, got arrested on May 7th for having 132 pieces of cannabis candies. Wow. Wow. That's devastating. Where'd you find that? Where was that story, John? Huh. Gummies. Pennsylvania Cannabis Coalition says, I saw that about the basketball player. He had gummies. It's literally edibles, and he's facing death. It's nuts. Yeah, it is. Hey, Fred. Happy Friday to you up in Pennsylvania. Yeah, going back to Pennsylvania, Josh says medical patients, veterans should be allowed to grow at home, and there should be DUI protections. And Josh thinks that adult use retail should happen in the dispensaries that are already in place. Exactly, Josh. Like how, again, Pennsylvania Democrats, what were you planning to do with your existing medical operators? You already regulate cannabis in Pennsylvania. Are you saying you're doing it wrong? Are you saying that your medical operators aren't best positioned to produce and sell adult use products? Not that there shouldn't be new licenses, right? But are you saying that your existing regulated by Pennsylvania operators aren't capable of selling cannabis legally and responsibly to Pennsylvanians? And then what? You're going to have liquor stores selling weed to adults, and then, but if you're a patient, you have to go to a medical dispensary, or were you just going to deconstruct the medical program altogether? Pennsylvania Democrats, tell me. I mean, I clearly they didn't think it through, so I wouldn't expect an answer, but wild times in Pennsylvania. Wild times. Right, Charlie? Charlie talking about the THC beverages. He says, but it's a drink, not the devil's lettuce. It's just devil's lettuce juice. Hey, Canacor, thanks for the comment. I'm trying to catch up on your comments right here. Hey, Chrislyn says, I ran across it on TikTok as well. I was hoping it wasn't real. Seems like it is. Hey, Chrislyn says, Texas is a mess. We agree. Chrislyn, there is a new action alert in NORML's Take Action Center. You can find that at norml.org/act. There is an expansion bill that was introduced for teacup. This is Texas's medical cannabis program, for those of you not in Texas. So make sure you check that out. Hey, me, myself, and I, happy to see you again as well. I don't have my voice is really struggling today. Sorry. I'm trying to keep up. This is, let's see. Hey, Samuel, good to see you. Is that what Chrislyn said about Texas? Yes, I like the addition of conditions. You know what I like better than adding conditions to an already made up list of conditions is getting rid of it altogether. Texas and Virginia and Georgia and Utah all started with the same limited medical cannabis access bill, like back in 2015, 2016. And I mention this because I'm here in Virginia. We started with a single condition, just one. And instead of hanging, disease ornaments on that Christmas tree, we just cut it down altogether and said, hey, let's just let healthcare practitioners practice medicine. I don't know about you, but if I need surgery, my surgeon does not call my state senator and say, hey, do you think this is right for my patient? No, my surgeon makes a decision, and together we come up with a healthcare plan for me. I don't know why lawmakers or regulators feel the need to insert themselves into healthcare. I mean, clearly in other situations as well, but particularly given with cannabis, they're really deciding like who gets healthcare and who gets jail. You're not qualified to make any of those decisions. State legislators, state regulators, you aren't qualified. The healthcare provider and the patient together should be able to make those decisions. PA Cannabis Coalition says Virginia has great laws comparably to a lot of the other states. They included personal cultivation, I'm pretty sure. Yes, first of all, thank you for saying that. We did, when we passed adult use in 2021, while our bill was kind of cut in half, with part of it taking effect and part of it requiring reenactment, the sales component. So we don't have adult use sales because elections have consequences, but we do have an allowance for personal cultivation at home, adult sharing, absent remuneration, and the ability to possess, any amount that is for personal use at home. Now, the reason why we don't have to make up a number and say, oh, you can only possess this amount at home is because possession in any amount for distribution is illegal. Doesn't matter how little you have. If you possess with the intent to distribute, that's illegal under Virginia law. If you write good laws, you don't have to write bad ones after it. So I do like to think that our laws are pretty good, other than not having adult use retail yet. But, you know, Virginians have another bite at that apple if they elect the right governor. If you elect the right governor this November, Virginia, then you can have adult use retail in 2026. And if you don't, you can't even think about it again until 2030. So choose wisely, friends. Yeah, PA Cannabis Coalition asks, and you can have up to an ounce on you for personal use. Yeah, you can be walking around on the street with an ounce. You can have any amount at home as long as it's for personal use. We don't, and it's stored properly. We also have employment protections for medical cannabis patients, and we have a prohibition on police using the claim "I smell weed" to stop, search, or seize a person, place, or thing. It can't be the only reason. You know, you could be swerving across the line and you could get pulled over, and then an officer could say, "Oh, you were swerving and I smell weed," right? It just can't be the only reason. Hey, Chrislyn. Chrislyn says hemp is illegal in Texas to grow for personal use, but allowed in hemp farm for distribution. Sure. I mean, that's kind of like cannabis in some states where you're not allowed to grow it, but you can buy it. Let me catch up on some more of these questions here. It's freezing on my end. I hope it's not free. The stream is freezing on my end. I hope it's not freezing on your end. Samantha, I see your comment. Okay. To everyone who's joined, hey, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And if you have any questions, drop those in the comments as well. Let me see what news I want to share with you next. I'm not even on the right page. Everything's so slow today. I even plugged in with like it's the 90s. I plugged the internet into the wall so it wouldn't be slow. And it's still super slow. Oh my gosh, could you please just open this page so I can read the news? No, apparently not. So while that page runs, I'm going to read you old news from this other page. In Florida, okay, so you may recall, dear viewers, that Floridians had the opportunity to vote on adult use legalization in the last election. And this ballot initiative in Florida in the last election was for a constitutional amendment. And so constitutional amendments require 60% of the vote. It's not a simple majority in order to pass. And while they did get over 50%, they were a little shy of that supermajority that's required to pass a constitutional amendment. So let's just catch up. So they're back at it though. Activists in Florida have indicated they want to, oh my goodness, they intend to try again for 2026. Great. Love that. Well, you're governor in Florida. And I say this as someone who was born and raised in Florida. This guy's a piece of work. What exactly is he doing? I am of the opinion that not only does he want to make it more difficult, but he saw the opportunity for a cash grab. And so DeSantis signed a law last week in Florida that makes it harder to place ballot initiatives before voters. And there's a whole bunch of things that are now prohibited. You can't use out-of-state canvassers. It really narrows the window during which signatures must be submitted to election officials from 30 days to 10 days. But most notably, I think it also prohibits anyone with a felony from working as a canvasser. Most notably, it mandates that the campaign has to post a $1 million bond before they can start gathering signatures. Crazy stuff. Did it post? Okay, it posted. Fine, perfect, great. PA Cannabis Coalition says DeSantis is a piece of something. Accurate. Hey, Kathleen. Samuel, meet Kathleen. Kathleen's watching on Facebook. Samuel's watching on YouTube. But you're both in North Carolina. Kathleen says, I was going to show your comment, but I'm just going to read it because the internet's really laggy today. Kathleen says, I'm in North Carolina by Cherokee. Cherokee is tribal land, by the way. I'm in North Carolina by Cherokee, the only dispensary. Is the rest of North Carolina going to go medical? You could. Are you going to? That's another story. So here's what's going on in North Carolina. Doesn't look like any actions happened on it. That bill had a little more recent action. So there are two pieces of legislation pending in North Carolina. There is H413, which is the Marijuana Legalization and Reinvestment Act. Looks like the last date of action on that was March. But there's also H1011, and this is the North Carolina Compassionate Care Act. This is the medical cannabis bill. It is, the last date of action was April on this one, so a little more recent. It's in committee. It's in the Committee on Rules. But there are action alerts for both of these in NORML's Take Action Center. So you can find those, Kathleen, at norml.org/act. Jeff, who are you? Oh, Jeff, you're talking about DeSantis, right? Jeff says the problem with him is that he's the next Republican candidate for president. Maybe. Jeff also believes that Andy Beshear might be the next Democratic presidential candidate. Andy is great. Yeah. Jeff says here in Kentucky, Andy has earned everyone's respect, so we'll make this an extremely close race since Kentucky is currently bloody Republican. Yet you keep electing Andy Beshear. He's doing a great job. Hey, Chris, welcome back. Steve says North Carolina doesn't want medical. We want complete legalization. Look, you can have both. And the reality is you're in North Carolina and you don't have anything. North Carolina is not likely to go from nothing to adult use. So if you've got to pass a decriminalization measure or you've got to pass a small medical bill first, please do. Please do. We do not let the perfect be the enemy of the good. It is fine to do something instead of nothing. It's fine. It's fine to want big things, and it's fine to also take small steps. Both can exist at the same time. Oh, okay. Let's why doesn't this work? I just wanted to read the news. I'm about to get out. It says this webpage is not responding. You think? I can see that it's not responding. I would prefer that it did. I'm gonna get this other laptop and read from that instead. Oh, that's all it needed. Then it got scared and said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Here's the script you were trying to read." More news from this week. All right, this is it. Let's do this one. Here's why this one is of particular interest. This is a study that was done recently that we reported on in this week's NORML News of the Week. And the title of this article is called Study. Cannabis use has no significant adverse impact on sperm motility. Investigators reported no significant differences in sperm concentration, volume, or motility in cannabis consumers versus non-consumers. Put this in the remembering part of your brain, because the DEA has partnered with this kooky prohibitionist organization to put out all these really poorly done, like boomer-esque, I think they want to call them memes, but they're not. It's just like little social graphics. The graphics themselves are very poorly done. Half of them you can barely read because they put white font, white type on top of an image that, whatever. It's so poorly done all the way around. But one of the little squares that they made says that smoking weed will reduce your sperm count by 50% or something like that. So very timely for us to be reporting on this recent study. Just, I think Marijuana Moment it is Marijuana Moment. They have a article on this social content, we'll say, that the DEA is partnering with these wackos to put out. Try and look it up and see if I can find it. So dumb. I saw them all today, and they are just so ugly. Like, I think they're supposed to appeal to kids, and someone older than I am had to have created this content. It's really bad. Really bad. Gosh, I want to find that. Where is it? It's so funny. Let's see if I can find it. And this kind of comes on the heels of them. They did this anti-420 day contest, where they paid kids to make anti-420 content for them. Just can't with this stuff. So this apparently is a spinoff from that. There we go. It is Marijuana Moment that has it. DEA partners with anti-marijuana group to spread memes claiming cannabis is linked to suicide, depression, and low sperm count. Thank you, Kyle, for covering this. Oh, it gets better. Their campaign name, they couldn't create it. They couldn't be original. No original content. So they stole a campaign name from Students for Sensible Drug Policy. SSDP, years ago, probably at least a decade at this point, had this campaign called Just Say No, KNOW, right? Kind of cute. Good cute play on words. So Johnny's ambassadors didn't come up with anything original. They just ripped off SSDP instead. And that's the name of their campaign, that the DEA, a federal agency, is hosting the memes on 2 of its taxpayer-funded websites and is sending emails on the taxpayer dime to promote this nonsense. They're hideous. Let's see if I can. I'm going to try to share this with you, but again, the internet is not having it today. There we go. Paul here at NORML is quoted in this piece as well, and I'll put this on our socials as well. It's just so wild. It's so hard to read. It's so poorly done. I'm in the mood to make fun of somebody today, so that's it. That's who we're going to make fun of. Hey, Samantha. I feel like I probably missed a few comments, but Samantha brings up a point about custody issues. Samantha says custody issues too if it isn't done correctly. That's why medical is important. Yeah, so here's the thing. When it comes to parental rights, we passed a parental rights bill, like, again, in Virginia, and the governor vetoed it again because he likes to, Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin likes to rip children out of homes when adults aren't endangering them and are simply engaging in doctor authorized legal medical cannabis use. He believes that that's grounds to take children away from parents. There are a lot of terrible laws that are in place in, frankly, most states from prohibition, and legalization in and of itself is not enough to overturn all of those bad laws. You have to go with intention back to those laws and fix them. Legalizing medical cannabis, legalizing adult use, passing a statewide decriminalization measure. All these things we think of as like the big, like, sexy bills that you can do with cannabis, but there are so many other not sexy issues because they're not big and shiny that require a lot of work and a lot of effort to protect consumers. And NORML is the organization that shows up to do this work, to protect parental rights for responsible consumers, to enshrine employment protections for lawful, responsible consumers, to do things like, repeal the ability to just say, I smell weed, and then arrest and search someone. Housing rights, healthcare access rights, a lot of times access to other points of healthcare, whether it's opioids or ADHD medication or organ transplant, can be impacted by lawful and physician authorized use of cannabis. Well, the roots of prohibition run deep. Pennsylvania Cannabis Coalition says surely they can find a better way to put tax dollars to work, meaning about the DEA posting anti-weed memes. You would think. I'm not going to scroll that thing. This is just, it's not a good day for the internet. Jeff, I see your comment. Hilarious. Hey, Brandon, what up? There was a study done that was the largest ever study done on this topic. State investigators analyzed data from over 3,100 first-time patients who have obstructive sleep apnea. And the investigators, this is done in Minnesota, and the investigators reported that 40% of patients experienced significant improvement in their sleep apnea within 4 months of beginning cannabis treatment. And they were able to maintain the sleep improvements for an additional 4 months. This is in the NORML news section if you want to check that out. Do you have sleep apnea? Maybe cannabis could help you. Find out. Talked about the Florida governor. Oh, great news out of Canada. In Canada, come on, catch up, internets. There we go. In Canada, they have nationwide legalization, and they are reporting from Canada that this nationwide legalization has largely displaced the illicit marijuana market in their country. What? You mean when adults can just go to the store and buy something, then they don't have to commit crimes? Shocking, I tell you. Excuse me, sorry. Here's the. All right, I think this is going to be the last one that I really want to tell you about. This is a story from last week, but we talk about it so often. Oh, wait, is this one of them? I had to look and see on the kooky. I mean, just look at this. Look at those. Look how ugly those are. What? Look at how ugly those images are. So poorly done. 50 Woodstock joints equals 1 marijuana dab. Is this for children? Do you think children know what Woodstock is? Also 1 marijuana dab. Whatever. Okay. Right. So we've all heard the lazy stoner trope before. But guess what? Yet another study. So many studies on this. Yet another study. Researchers, thanks, Chris. Researchers have in fact concluded that cannabis use is not associated with a sedentary lifestyle. You think about it. There are people who use cannabis for pain relief, for other health-related issues. And when they have pain relief, then they're able to engage in more activities. You know? Hey, Dakota Labs, I see your comment. Let's see what it says. Dakota Labs is on Instagram and asks this question. I'd love your opinion on something. Do you think the CBD market is fading out or just evolving? Yes. Yes, to both. And from what you've seen, do most cannabis users also use CBD, or is there more of a divide? Yes. So I'm going to couch it in this way. When we're talking about CBD, what I'm picking up from your language here is that we're talking about CBD products. CBD products are often unregulated, entirely unregulated. So what's in them, who knows? But by and large, they tend to contain THC. So is it the CBD that's in the product that's even providing efficacy? Who knows? Because again, with products that are unregulated, there's no way for the consumer to know what they're actually consuming unless they take that product to a third-party analytical laboratory and have it tested. And also, hopefully, that lab is competent. So do I think the market is fading out? I think that happened long ago. I think that with the passage of the 2018 Agriculture Improvement Act, so known as the Farm Bill that everyone loves to shout about, we saw a glut of CBD hit the market, and manufacturers, retailers were looking for something to do with this CBD that wasn't moving. Until they turned to some, old garage chemistry where you cook CBD and battery acid for 3 days, and then you get Delta 8. You also get Delta 9. But we're really seeing those people or the retailers that originally were so focused on, quote, CBD, pivot to capture an intoxicating product market share. So, do most cannabis users use CBD? I mean, maybe. I don't know. Do they also buy it? Are they also buying CBD at the grocery store? I don't know. But a lot of legal retail cannabis products that are regulated do also contain CBD. So in that context, sure. But I think what you're asking is, do cannabis consumers also buy unregulated CBD products? It probably depends on what state they're in. What we do know from a large amount of data is that when states have, in states that have legal access to real regulated cannabis, either through medical or adult use, the demand for these unregulated products that are called CBD or called hemp derived or whatever, again, it doesn't matter what it's called because it's not regulated, so who knows what it really is. The demand really decreases in those states because consumers can get legal access to regulated cannabis products, which is what they want. That's why they're buying these products, largely to begin with. Not to say there's no demand for CBD. Certainly people use that. And, I'm glad that people who want it have access to it. I just would also like for them to be able to believe that what's on the label is what's in the bottle. And unfortunately, that's not the case outside of regulatory structure. Hope that answers your question, Dakota. Probably more than you were asking for. Let's ask the chat. Hey, people who have access to legal cannabis, do you also use CBD products? And if you do use CBD products, where do you get them from? Do you get them from your dispensary, or do you just buy them at the gas station or grocery store or online? Exactly, Eric, all in the name of money. Samantha, are you in North Carolina? Is that what I think you said earlier, something about North Carolina. We have a North Carolina NORML chapter. So if you want to get involved, please reach out to them. You can find them on the NORML website at norml.org/chapters. If you don't hear back, you can just email us directly at chapters@norml.org. And I'll try to get you connected. Thanks, Eric, for answering the question. All right. Hey, everyone who just joined us on Instagram. Thanks so much. Be sure to hit that follow button. All right, let's talk about some events that are coming up and how you can get more NORML news. So tomorrow, Saturday, that means NORML's weekend weed read is coming out about 9 o'clock Eastern time. Great way to kick off your weekend morning. Little news on cannabis. You can make sure this hits your inbox by going to norml.org/subscribe. Make sure you check the weekend weed read box so that you always get it delivered on Saturdays. And then on Thursdays, we have NORML news of the week, so you'll get that as well. You'll get the top stories in cannabis policy and science, as well as action alerts for pending marijuana-related legislation in your state and at the federal level. You can take action on cannabis legislation at any time by going to NORML's Take Action Center at norml.org/act. There are a number of bills that have been introduced around the country. There's some federal legislation as well. And we make it really, really easy for you to send a message to your representatives in support of good cannabis legislation and in opposition to bad legislation. You're going to go to the Take Action Center. You're going to click on your state. You're going to see what bills there are. You're going to click on the one that you want to take action on. It's going to take you like 30 seconds to have 2 emails sent. Boom, boom. One to your House, one to your Senate. Just like that. Sometimes it goes to your governor too. We do all of the heavy lifting for you so that all you have to do is click, 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 boom, sent, and you are engaged in political advocacy just like that. Hey, Sheldon, thanks for answering. Sheldon answered the CBD question and says, it's so hard to parse the options in California that most people I know don't even bother with CBD. It's hard enough to get quality THC, and the pay-to-play market for testing is whack. Yeah, some states do not have a good handle on their testing laws, and you see a lot of lab shopping. So it's important that your regulatory provisions for cannabis extend not only to the producers, to the retailers, but to the laboratories as well. Melissa says, it's really easy and really fast to send those action alerts. Thank you, Melissa. Hey, Christopher, good to see you. Thanks for joining us on Instagram. Listen, elections have consequences, friends. And there are a lot of elections that are happening around the country this year on a small level. There are a number of special elections. And then there are some really big ones like Virginia. Primary elections are already underway. Primary voting is underway in Virginia. And I'm gonna take a look. I didn't want to send you Election Central. I wanted to send you Smoke the Vote. Let's try that again. So NORML has a cannabis voter guide. It's called Smoke the Vote. And what you're going to see when you visit Smoke the Vote is who's on the ballot in your state. Now, not only do we tell you who's on the ballot, but we're also going to tell you, well, it didn't even open. It's also going to give you the grades for your elected officials right now. Let's see what elections are coming up. All right, we've got a special election May 20th in New York, the special election in South Carolina on June 3rd, a special in Louisiana on June 7th, a special in Oklahoma on June 10th, primary in New Jersey on June 10th, a special in Massachusetts on June 10th. The primary in Virginia election day is the 17th, but early voting is already underway in Virginia. New Hampshire has a special election on June 24th, as does California, Alabama, and Florida. Arizona has a special election July 15th, and Washington has a special election August 5th. All of these candidates are visible right now on Smoke the Vote. If they do not have information available, it is because they have not answered our candidate survey and they have not made any public statements or have not had any voting record on cannabis. So if you know these candidates, if you've heard them talk about cannabis policy or seen any statements from them, you can submit that for us right there when you're looking at them on Smoke the Vote. And then once we have that, we're able to give them grades and let you know where these candidates stand on cannabis policy. If you want good cannabis policies in your state, you have to elect people who believe in enacting those policies. Let's look at Texas. You got bad cannabis policy because the people you keep electing are bad on cannabis. Let's look at Congress. We have bad federal cannabis laws because America, you keep electing people who suck on cannabis policy to represent you in Congress. Virginia, you've been feeling that heat for 4 years. You elected a clown show of a governor, and you have not had retail access to cannabis despite legalizing in 2021. 2021 is when Virginia legalized adult use, and it's 2025, and you still don't have retail access. Why? Because elections have consequences. So make good choices. Please just take a quick peek at Smoke the Vote so you know before you get into that voting booth who to vote for if cannabis policy is your issue. And presumably, since you're here at 5 o'clock on a Friday talking about weed policy, I think it's probably pretty important to you. Insulin, listen. Insulin says, if Virginia fumbles at this election, I'm moving. Can you imagine? I mean, Insulin, can you imagine if we in Virginia had to wait until 2030 to take action on retail sales? Ugh. Thank you. And Melissa says, and share the link with your friends. Listen, if you have an election in your state, in your district, not only do you need to make a plan to vote, but please make sure you are encouraging that in your community. Make sure you are helping your friends and your family make their plans to vote as well. It's very influential, that personal touch. That is the strongest influencer on voters, is a personal touch. So if you are encouraging your friends, your family, your neighbors, your coworkers to vote and maybe telling them who you think they should vote for, that is very influential, far more so than what they've got bombarding them with ads and such. Thank you, John. John says that NBC News is where he found the article about the basketball player who's getting the death penalty in Indonesia for having cannabis candies, supposedly. Samantha, that's not uncommon. Samantha says in North Carolina they have a sheriff / former sheriff as their committee head. It's not uncommon. Thanks, Chris. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's not uncommon to see lawmakers chair committees that are related to their profession. So, it's not uncommon to see prosecutors, because a lot of states have part-time lawmakers. It's not their job. They have other jobs, and it's not uncommon to see, a prosecutor or a former prosecutor or defense attorney be the chair of like a criminal law committee. It's not uncommon if you have healthcare providers in your legislature to see them chair, or healthcare professionals to see them chair or serve on committees that relate to health. Thank you, Sheldon says, such a great point. Each one reach one, or 10. Vote and hold politicians accountable. I'm so glad you brought that up, Sheldon, because whether or not you voted for someone, if they represent you, keep talking to them. Make sure you're signing up for their emails. Make sure you're following them on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you want to follow them. Go see them when they are in your community. If you talk to them about the issues, make sure they are hearing from you, whether you voted for them or not. Make sure they are hearing from you about cannabis policy priorities. If they don't hear from you, they think it doesn't matter. Let's see, what's this say? All right, friends, it looks like it's about to pour here, and it's after 5, and my voice is 100% done. Oh, Chris, thanks for asking. Chris has this question. Chris says, what do you say to someone who buys their, quote, legit weed from a local smoke shop? They claim it is tested and such, but no, something ain't right. So we would say is don't buy that. If you are purchasing cannabis outside of a regulatory model, and look, maybe you are able to cultivate it at home and you know what's in it, great. Maybe your friend is able to cultivate it at home and you know your friend and you trust your friend. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about going to some random store that is not a licensed dispensary. If you're buying THCA flower, which by the way is weed, it's just weed. There's not THCA flower is not a thing. That's what weed is. It's THCA in the flower until you decarboxylate it. So if you're buying THCA flower or whatever nonsense it is you're buying at some gas station or smoke shop or vape shop or head shop or online, you have no idea what's in that. And now you might say, oh, well, it came with the certificate of authenticity. It came with the COA. It came with the QR code with lab tests. From who? From who? From what lab? Who regulates that lab? You have no idea. So you're taking these health risks unnecessarily. I get it. It might be the only thing that's available to you in your state. And I hope it works out for you, friend. But to your point, Chris, these are the things that I tell people. Every time I go into my barbershop, someone has a question from me about some product they saw somewhere and whether or not they should buy it. And my answer is always no. I would never buy that because I don't know what that is. I have no idea of knowing what's in there. Let's see. Oh, I have cough drops in front of me. Shocking. I know what's in this cough drop because it's regulated by the FDA. I know that every cough drop is going to be the same. I'm not confused about what's going to happen when I have that cough drop. These are expectations that we have of products in the United States because of regulatory oversight intended to provide for consumer safety. Now, we have that state by state at the state level for cannabis, and some states are better at it than others, obviously. But outside of that, there's no protections for you as a consumer. It's very much a buyer beware marketplace. So those are the things I say, Chris. You're welcome. Yeah, I know about the people that think that THCA is a loophole, and more states are closing those perceived loopholes, but that's just weed. Jeremy, no, I don't think so. Jeremy asked, is FDA regulation more of a placebo than rigorous testing/audit? They can be the same. So regulations can require good manufacturing processes. They can require rigorous testings and audits. That's what I'm talking about. Not that the FDA itself is testing my cough drop, but there are requirements in place that What's on the label is what's actually in the product. And I'm gonna eat one of these right now before I choke. Lex, hey Lex, thanks for chiming in. Lex says, I'm a grower in the legal Colorado market. Testing is crazy here. The hoops we have to jump through to get product on shelves is crazy, right? There's a lot of cost that goes into ensuring consumers get a safe product. And there are a lot of retailers outside of the licensed cannabis space that frankly are predatory. They want to sell you a product, a cannabis product. They want to sell people cannabis products, intoxicating products, without having to jump through those same hoops that you have to jump through, Lex. They want to make a quick buck. They don't want to pay, for all the testing and to meet all the regulatory standards by the state. They want to just say, oh, this is legal under the Farm Bill, and putting consumers at risk is a terrible thing to do. If you don't know, if you're new to NORML, then we're a consumer. Let me tell you, we're a consumer organization. We are not an industry organization. We don't represent businesses. We represent consumer interests and solely consumer interests. And there are some cannabis businesses out there that are full speed behind us, 100% support our work, and want to be sure that they're protecting you. They're responsible consumers. And then there are some that don't care at all. So, all right, friends, this has, despite my scratchy voice and freezing internet, this has still been a good time. I love hanging out with you all on Fridays. We try to do this show every Friday about 4 o'clock Eastern. So go ahead and hit that like, follow, or subscribe button wherever you're watching so you never miss when NORML goes live. I'm J.N. Padini. I'm the development director here at NORML. It's been a blast talking with you all. And as always, I'll see you all back here next time. Bye-bye.